Hello, Eastside Youth. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. This is your midweek check-in encouragement. Just a little what we talked about Sunday night as we looked at Jesus providing a greater rest or a greater rest than the rest of the promised land. We said like one of the things that the people of Israel failed to do is to fully enter that rest. They entered it physically for a time, but then didn't enter it spiritually, and as such were removed from that rest, went back to it, and still had not fully received it. And so the author of Hebrews laid out like we enter that rest through faith in Jesus. When we receive the Holy Spirit, we take on, and something changes about us that allows us to fully experience that rest. One of the things that is also interesting about that is like rest is like the ceasing from work. And so this idea of work as it relates to a spiritual standing with God, we rest from that. When we put our faith in Jesus, it is dealt with, we rest from it. You can't do stuff to get a better standing with God as far as salvation goes. So, but this is our midweek thing. We finished Galatians last week, and so I was looking at like where to go, and we're going through Hebrews on Sunday nights, and so I want to do kind of a spin-off Hebrews thing for these midweek check-ins, and it's going to take us a little while, but we're going to go through Hebrews chapter 11, and we're just going to look at the Hall of Faith. And so if you don't know, Hebrews chapter 11 is like the greatest hits of the Old Testament. It's by faith this person, by faith this person did this, and it was credited as righteousness. All the way down, it's these people who were like these pillars of the Jewish faith in the Old Testament, and now we look back through the lens of Jesus to see that they have a lot to teach us and show us about faith as it relates to Christianity and us today. And so we're just going to kind of go through this list of people. We're going to take one a week and just look at the story around what was going on, talk about them just a little bit, and then get you guys on your way for the week. Real quick before we get into it, this Sunday after second service, so that's usually around noon, or whenever the bus for the church gets back from dropping folks off. We'll be leaving to go to Pumpkin Patch to get some pumpkins, bring it back to the church, do some carving, have a snack, have some lunch, and then we'll roll right into youth group at 4. So it's going to be a good time. If you would like to purchase, I think we're going to cover one pumpkin per whoever comes, but if you would like to purchase more than one pumpkin, or if you would like to have more than one pumpkin, feel free to bring some money. There's snacks there. There's a really cool donut shop. And if you want to partake in other stuff there, feel free to bring any extra money that you would like. But that's the plan for this Sunday. And then next weekend already, if you can believe it, is Halloween. So we got the trunk or treat going on at the church. I'm going to talk to you guys more about that because we as a youth are going to be doing a trunk or treat. I'm excited for it. And it's just a cool way to get to bless some kids in our community by giving them free sugar and hyping them up before they go home. So those are the things coming up, but let's get into it. This first bit comes from Hebrews 11, but then we're going to be quickly moving away from there. So Hebrews 11, verse 4. Actually, let's read the first part of Hebrews 11 just to give us some idea of what's going on. It says, "Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. For by it the people of old received their commendation. By faith, we understand the universe was created by the word of God, so that what is seen was not made out of things that are visible." Verse 4, "By faith, Abel offered to God a more acceptable sacrifice than Cain, through which he was commended as righteous, God commending him by accepting his gifts. And through his faith, though he died, he still speaks." So this is this first person that we meet in this Hall of Faith is Abel. Not the first human, like generation 2 of people. And in this it says that he was commended as righteous, commended him as righteous by accepting his gifts. And so God, in accepting Abel's gift, and we're going to go and read about this. This is in Genesis chapter 4. So right at the beginning of the Bible, Adam and Eve have just been kicked out of the garden, and then this is the first generation of people who are growing up outside the garden. So the story of Cain and Abel. Now Adam knew his wife Eve, and she conceived and bore Cain, saying, I've gotten a man with the help of the Lord. And again she bore his brother Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of sheep, and Cain worked the ground. In the course of time, Abel is doing livestock stuff, and Cain's growing plants. In the course of time, Cain brought to the Lord an offering of the fruit of the ground, and Abel also brought of the firstborn of his flock, and of their fat portions. And the Lord had regard for Abel and his offering, but for Cain and his offering he didn't have regard. So Cain was angry, and his face fell. And the Lord said to Cain, Why are you angry? Why has your face fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is for you, but you must rule over it. And Cain spoke to Abel his brother, and when they were in the field, Cain rose up against his brother Abel and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, Where is Abel your brother? He said, I don't know, am I my brother's keeper? And the Lord said, What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood is crying to me from the ground, and now you are cursed from the ground, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you work the ground, it shall no longer yield to you its strength. You shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth. And that's kind of the end of what we're going to read for Cain this week. Essentially, what happens from there is God has him wander, and Cain says, it's too much for me to bear. Like, this curse is too much, and people are going to seek my life. People are going to try to kill me. And God puts a different mark on Cain to say, if anybody does that, then they are going to heap an even worse result. So, but it's weird because this story almost like Cain is kind of the main character of this story that we meet Abel. And Abel is he's a shepherd. He keeps the flocks. And so Cain and his brother Abel both bring this gift, this sacrifice to God. I would note that this is like a long time before the people of God even received a system of sacrifice. So even here, first generation out of the garden, they understood that there's something about offering something up to God, whether that's the gifts you've been given, part of what you have. They understood that we receive things from God and we return those to Him as worship. So it says, Abel offered the firstborn of his flock and their fat portions. And it doesn't come out and say like, hey, Cain's given up the worst stuff. Like, I don't think Cain was giving up the worst stuff. But I think in the heart of it is this idea that what Cain was doing was not bad. He was giving of what he grew. Awesome. And it's never like Cain did wrong in that, but it's Abel did better. Abel's giving the first fruit, or the firstborn, the first one, and he's giving the fat portions, the stuff that's like got the nutrients and all the stuff that like they would have used. He's giving that bit. And so he is commended above Cain in that regard. And the reason that Hebrews keys us in that Abel does that is through faith. He had faith in his God to the point that he chose to offer the better part, to give up what most of the society would have looked at and went, why don't you keep that? Like, you're just burning it. Why don't you just burn like the stuff you're not going to use? And Abel seems to be saying, no, I'm going to burn the best. I'm going to give my best for God here. Also notice that God gives Cain the opportunity to do well. He says, if you do well, won't it be accepted? In other words, emulate, learn from the faith of your brother Abel. See how he is responding in faith. Learn from that, Cain, and go for it. So here's like lesson 1 of this Hall of Faith. The fact that it exists suggests that we have a task as Christians to learn from the giants of faith that went before us, whether those are in the Bible or in church history or in our lives, the people of faith that we can look to as having these pillars of faith. There's value in looking to them, and as Paul says, like, imitate me as I imitate Christ. It's kind of the same thing. We look to these people who have great faith to help inform and practice and build our own faith. So that's the first thing we learn from Abel. The second thing is that our faith should cause us to respond, and not just respond in a, well, here's a little bit. It should cause us to respond in abundance and in as much as we can. And this is not to say like we need to, because Cain still had enough to survive on. That's not what killed him. But it is this idea that we're not giving God the worst of what we have, and holding on to the goodies. By faith, we can trust in a God who is able to provide, which is what Abel's doing here. And what's wild is Abel had this faith, and he ended up dead. Like the first character in the Bible outside of Adam and Eve, and Adam and Eve didn't really have that great of faith starting out. The first character who is like responding to God ends up dead because of sin from his brother. And so this is the other kind of thing is faith is not contingent on what happens. We have faith in our God because of who God is, not because of what God is going to do or what God is not going to do. We have faith in God for who he is, not because of the things that we expect, or he's not like a magic genie lamp that we rub and oh, I got what I wanted, so now I'll have faith. We have faith in God because he is worthy. We have faith in Jesus because he is worthy, in the Spirit because he is worthy for the things that they have shown about themselves. And we don't hold that faith and say, okay, I'll have it if you. That's not faith. So those are just a few things that we can take away from Abel. Next week, we're going to look at Enoch. And in looking at Enoch, we have to look at Cain some more. So that's Abel. Hopefully you guys have a good week. Look for ways to, whether it's service or time or whatever, give what you have back to God in faith, not as like a chore. I don't want, if y'all are like, well, I feel like I have to, just then no. But out of a response of faith, look for those things. And we will see you guys Sunday. Hopefully you are taking care. Enjoy kind of a slower paced day, Wednesday, with school stuff. And we will see you soon. Love you guys. Bye.